I know a lot has been revealed, but I really want to discuss these new gifts.
Take a look at who I am now. I'm stronger than ever. And if you ever doubted me, you should've known better.
So we just had a new major stream, not a weekly one, but a special one where they introduce game-changing stuff. And usually it's also some kind of PR thing for them. So this time we received the new imaginary gift effects. I will be covering card reveals and so forth at the end of the video, but let's actually discuss what these effects mean. Now, if you're not up to date, essentially, once these gifts are out in English, or in Japanese for Japan, when you ride a grade 3, you get to choose between two different force markers, two different Accel markers, two different protect markers. So that is really cool because you actually get some more choices, meaning depending on the matchup, depending on the situation, you can at least somewhat change your game plan, just like the G-Zone gave us options. These also give options, but you know, in a very reduced way. However, one important thing to note is that once you choose one of these, you are locked into them for the rest of the game. And I'm not a huge fan of that, because that is just taking away another choice. Maybe there was a good strategy by using one first and the other next. Maybe the situation changed. Just so many variables can make it so you may want to switch between two. I know it may be slightly harder to balance, but at least it gives you more options, and that's what Standard desperately needs and Premium can always use because you just get even more depth. However, it's still cool that we get this added possibility. So now for the effects. They are named very originally Force 2, Accel 2, Protect 2. So Force 2 is you can place it on V or R and the original unit's critical onset card becomes 2. But stacking them doesn't increase it to 3 or 4. So ideally when you get them you would place one on a rear, then one on a van, then one on a rear. Or well, depending on the situation, you choose the order, but they don't stack. Then Accel 2 is you get an Accel circle, just like you would normally, but it only has 5k power and you draw a card. Then Protect 2, it is not actually a protect marker in your hand, but it is a protect marker on a circle, and that unit gets 5000 power and 10,000 shield. You may say, oh, when I move my rearguard away from that circle, it then loses the shield so it can't intercept with it. They would probably fix that ruling. And these power gains are also in your opponent's turn, so you can use that 5k defensively as well, unlike Accel and Force. Let's discuss what this actually means. For Force 2, it's interesting because it stops certain clans from having huge swings that you don't care about. You know, Bermuda is an amazing deck right now, but can you imagine that Bermuda suddenly has extra criticals on top of their 60k power? They don't really need huge force numbers, they already make those numbers themselves. So suddenly having that extra crit pressure is major for them. Same thing could be said for Neo Nectar or maybe even Spike Brothers. So as I said in my other video before, it's actually really cool that these new effects could help certain clans more than others. However, I'm not sure if Bermuda specifically needed this help right now. Then for Accel 2, two of my favorite clans are Accel clans, and drawing a card is necessary. These decks really need to start plussing. The issue is that plus 5000 power is low, and so suddenly defensive triggers are even more painful for an Accel clan. Is that one draw worth the 5k power lose over the course of the game? I'm not sure about that. Personally, this is also why I had hoped that you could switch between the two, so that you could draw when you need to draw, but can actually also start stacking power when you need to power. But that's not the case. However, I do understand that this would be very nuts if something like Accel would be able to switch between the two, because Wonder Accel, well, she rewrites, so you get a lot of these triggers. Now, some people may say, oh, this is nuts with Accel, because now they can draw on top of that. The issue is, Accel's only way to not get cucked by defensive triggers is their Accel circles. These are the only things giving them actual reliable power apart from the Gurgwit Stride, which they don't use that often. So if they now use the 5k, their turns may become pretty easy to guard, and so I don't think when they're going all out with their rush they will be going for this Accel 2 specifically. Now as for Protect 2, it does get around guard restrict in the sense that, well, intercept is not a sentinel. The issue is, isn't Protect Sentinel the one thing ruining Force right now, especially when those big columns start getting crits? I don't know how often this one will be used. I don't know if it's really worth it to get power plus 5k and shield plus 10. Like, if it's to get around certain big things, Shadows already retire you, Kagero retires you, meaning you don't get around their guard restrict with this, so I'm not sure how often they will end up using these specifically. Of course, there may be some interactions that make all of this very, very worth it. I'm just giving my first thoughts as I see them right now. Now, one interesting thing is also that they are horizontal, so the way to see the difference between Accel 1 and Accel 2, Force 1 and Force 2 and so forth, is that these are placed horizontally and their art is horizontal. That actually looks much better, because we used to have this issue where people would place their marker underneath their card to kind of hide it, and then people would go like, oh, there was a marker there and so forth. It's just some BS mind tricks, and you can't do that with this. It's minor, but it's something I wanted to bring up. Also, these specifically will apparently come as box toppers for certain future sets, at least for Japan. I'm not sure which we will get in English when. Once I know, I will tell you. Overall, this seems to be a good thing for the game, in my opinion. I'm just feeling like the Force 2 is a bit stronger than the other two, and I really wished they could actually stack with older ones, so you had even more decision trees. For me, in a card game, ceiling is more important than everything, so the more choices you have, the more options are available to you. Depending on the situation, the game becomes more skillful and thus competitive. So I'm all for options, options, options. Now, for reveals, we got 2 premium collection strides, 2 dragons. We have Flare General Dumjit Valor. It says when placed, cost counterblast 1 and turn a card in your G-zone phase up, as they all do. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards, retire it. Of course, Kagero needs some retiring. And this unit gets power plus 15k until end of turn for each sentinel in your drop zone. This is different. I don't recall them having much sentinel fetching. I guess they can with Conroe into Protect Orb or whatever sentinel you're running and so forth. But this is a weird way to stack power, but it is different, so I'm liking it. Then we have Auto on V once per turn. When your opponent's sentinel or G-Guardian is placed, you may stand this blazing unit and it gets drive -1 until end of turn. So either your opponent takes this or it will just attack yet again. This is not second stride or third stride. This works even from first stride, and that is something Kagero has really wanted to have. Finally being able to have a stride skill that is actually a bit scary. It's kind of like a Helheim, but then Kagero style. Now, of course, the question is, will your opponent be at high enough damage to make this swing scary? Maybe we'll start seeing Kagero with 12 crits, just to make this move scary. Now, Golden Dragon Spear X Dragon is really different. It says Unite. If your Vanguard is grade 3, cost Counterblast 2, discard a card from your hand and stride this card on your V from face down. That is nuts. It is an act, so you stride in main phase. So you can call Wonder Ezels in Ezel before striding this card. And then on top of that, you don't need to save stride fodder to get this. However, it is Counterblast 2, and good players will already be damage denying Ezel early. So I don't know how relevant that first skill will be in a skillful matchup, but then in one where people are just blindly swinging face, well, the Ezel player is just gonna win harder. This doesn't hurt good opponents quite as badly, but you will punish bad opponents much harder. Then act on V once per turn, cost Soul Blast 1 and turn a card in your G-zone phase up. Look at 5 cards from the top of your deck, call 2 cards from among them to R and shuffle your deck. This is very nice, because Ezel has plenty of soul, and now they suddenly have free field building already. They used to actually have to call stuff from their hand quite a bit, and making Unite is sometimes hard, but this card just gets around that. It's like a Sagramore but on steroids. And since it's turn a card in your G-zone phase up, you can actually start flipping Gurgits, and this way up your Gurgit count so that when you go into the Gurgit stride who stacks power, he actually gives more power than he would have. However, it is also interesting for other Gold Paladin decks. I'm just thinking about the most competitive one right now. Now, we also got this news from the anime that apparently the next is going to be some sort of tournament arc, and we are going to be getting back Mamoru. He was the Kagero player in G, and he used Blade Master, and apparently this Shadow is a bit Blade Master-ish. So maybe that will be making a return. That would also mean that this is the start of us getting some G units in Standard. And I don't mean like strides, I mean just units from G coming there. Then we also got some first art for those new start decks of Royal Paladin and Shadow Paladin. So if you don't know, they're gonna be very cheap, accessible start decks with reprints for these clans. So if a new player wants to start playing, these are ideal. And they come with 2 new crits. Now, the interesting thing is when this was first announced, we thought, oh, it's going to be a new crit with a skill, it would bring some interaction and so forth, but no, they're just vanilla new crits. That's it, with new art, new name. The major issue here is that this means only these 2 clans get to use 12 crits. But perhaps future sets will introduce this kind of stuff for other clans as well, we don't know that. At least once these come out, we will be able to see 12 crit Royal and 12 crit Shadow Paladin if you want to do that from that point onward. Then we also got some art for the 2 new booster sets. We have Gancelot on booster pack 5, which will be, you know, Miyagi Academy 2.0 essentially. So Gancelot fans have been asking for this for quite a while. Now, the major issue with Gancelot is that it doesn't contain an Alfred or Blaster name. So in Premium, it's very unlikely that you want this card. None of your old support works with it. Then we have Booster Pack 6, and this is the one I'm actually more interested in. It is with Shadow Paladin. It's actually AL4 2.0, same clans as always, and it has Mordred on the box. Now, if you don't know, I started Vanguard because of Revengers and Illusionary Revenger Mordred Phantom. So this unit is really, really nice for me. However, I don't know if this means we're getting actual Revengers support in that set. That'd be cool to see. You know, I've been building Revengers every single format just to have fun with, even if they're not very competitive. I'm just having a blast using my Revenger Abyss in Premium and just seeing how I can mesh the support together and make it as playable as possible. Overall, pretty cool to see. I look forward to making another Premium Revenger deck, and hopefully this time it's actually good. And then apparently in Japan they're also getting steel markers inside these boxes. I'm not sure how often you'll find them. I doubt they'll come to English, but we can hope. So that is all for right now. Overall, cool stream. I think this is good for Vanguard, and I can't wait to further look at the options. Now, the one thing I'm wondering is, will these new markers be usable once the Premium Collection comes out? Because it's like the same kind of date as Heroic Evolution, isn't it? Maybe I'm wrong. We'll have to see. I'm just looking forward to it. That is all for today. Hope you found this interesting. If you did, please subscribe to the Solemn Vanguard channel. Click the bell button to stay up to date. Like the video if you liked the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I will see you soon. Ciao.